All right, hey folks, this is Chris Lucas. It's October 2nd, 2021. It's about 2:50 p.m. here in Indiana. Brownsburg is where I live, pretty close to Indianapolis. Anyway, just kind of wanted to show the shirt. This alone can get you kicked off of YouTube. I think that's why my friends don't ever wear it when they do videos. There's a couple of my friends got this shirt. But anyway, as you can see, title. This is, by the way, kind of doing this on the spur of the moment. Just I didn't get to do a live stream last week because the guy that mows our lawn ran over the internet cables and cut them all up. So I didn't have internet for a few days. But anyway, as you can see, the title of my video is Chris Lucas, the next Republican president. I think that's the name of it. But I wanted to kind of show you my, I just made this new Facebook page. Oops. Sorry about that. I accidentally enlarged it too large. Or at least from my end, it was enlarged too large. But anyway, I created this new page. It's the next Republican president, Chris Lucas 2024. And I know what people are going to initially think, it's like, I mean, some people might be like hesitant to even support me, being like, dude, you don't have a chance. You don't have very many followers. The thing is, if I got enough likes, right? Like, let's say this page had 100,000 likes, which I think is very easily done. To be honest, I think it's easy to do 1 million likes. But let's say, I mean, there was just 1 million people out there that was like, you know what? I want a better choice than Donald Trump. I know that's kind of crazy to think because you're like, well, he gave me warp speed. I'm losing my job because of the vaccine that he helped fund. I'm losing my job because, the whole world's going crazy. They're trying to force vaccinate my family. And I know you're probably sitting there, like, man, I really want Donald Trump to run again because I'm really glad he kept renewing that emergency lockdown order and things. And so, but see, if you're not thinking that, if you're like, man, dude, I really wish I had someone that wouldn't declare a national emergency because of the flu, well, right here might be your man, okay? And yes, I know some people that know, it's like I keep the Sabbath. Today's the Sabbath. But I mean, I think all this kind of ties in together, and that's kind of why I'm doing it. It's because the whole purpose of my videos is it's not so much to be preachy to people as it is to try to wake them up, because it's like a lot of people, they got to kind of see that, and understand there's something wrong with the world, and you got so much of the world that kind of puts you into a state of mass psychosis where it's like, man, is there something really going on that's wrong? Or is it just me? It's like everybody around me is wearing a mask, and, maybe I'm the one who's crazy, and people start thinking that to themselves. And it's like, I try to be someone, part of the reason why I do these videos, I know some people go, oh man, they're not that great. You don't edit good, and like I said, I'm someone who works about 70 hours a week, 60, 70 hours a week at times, have 2 small children. And sometimes, I work about 6 days a week, anywhere between 11 to 12 hours a day, so I really don't have a lot of time, and the whole reason why I even ever, I keep doing these things. I know they're not the best. It could be edited better, but if I ever got enough, donations and things to where I could do this full time, you would see them done better. But it is what it is. Um, but the main thing, the main goal I have as far as running for president, and I know there are people who are like, man, voting's stupid and all this other stuff. And I would run for a smaller office because I actually don't think voting's stupid. I helped get 2 local councilmen nominated, and they're always at least somewhat representing me. I'm not saying they're the most perfect representatives. I'm not saying like, oh, they're so much smarter than everybody else, but at least they're trying to do the right thing. And I'm helping to create people within the Republican Party that get elected that you can actually work with, So let's say if you had like someone that was a better governor than what we have now here in Indiana, someone better than Holcomb. Well, I'm trying to help get the right people elected, that if we had the right governor elected, if we had the right other people elected, everyone could work together to have a better Indiana. And there's part of me that's like, maybe I should be running for governor of Indiana. And I may switch that up. But, it just kind of depends. It's like right now, I'm going for this because to me, the choices for president's really scary. And I don't really think it's that far-fetched to think that people would compare me to Trump and be like, wow, you make a lot more sense. Because as you can see up on my screen, I'm pretty obvious, about where I stand with things. I see the Pope pushing these forced vaccinations, pushing censorship. At the Pontifical Council for Culture, they had Chelsea Clinton at it, and she brings up how they need to do more to socialize people on alternative platforms and to reduce vaccine hesitancy. And all of them are just like, yes, we definitely do. So where the Pope stands, where the Vatican stands on this, where the Catholic Church stands on this. And some people might go, oh, Chris, well, I got this friend that's Catholic and they don't believe in all this. They hate the vaccine. They hate these mandates. But the thing is, that's one little person in your church. They do not speak for that whole church. Okay. The Pope speaks for that whole church. That's the whole reason why we had a Protestant Reformation. What was the whole Protestant Reformation about? It was about, we're leaving the Catholic Church because we think it fits the description and revelations of the great whore of Babylon, right? And, one of the things we see today is we see this Catholic Church not resisting the mark of the, well, I shouldn't say the mark of the beast. I don't think the vaccine is the mark of the beast, but I think it is, all these mandates and everything is setting up the mark of the beast. It's setting up all the structure needed to create the mark of the beast. And I know there's going to be some people that say, Chris, don't you think it's wrong to like go against the Bible and run for president and try to stop this? But I actually don't. I actually think that this is judgment time. And the thing about me even attempting to run, it's to have more proof of those when judgment time comes. It's like, look, man, here's a guy who was trying to run. You could have mentioned his name to someone else. You could have, at least gave this guy a tiny bit of support. Click the thumbs up on his page, just kind of try to help the guy out a little bit. Like I'm not even asking for money. At least right now, maybe in the future I might need it, but right now all I'm asking for is just a like on the page. That way there's a witness of like, look, this is what, people think this is a good church. And maybe you're like, man, I just don't like the fact that he's so anti-Catholic and he doesn't like the Pope. I don't like this, but I like some of the other things he says. I like that he's pro-gun, pro-Second Amendment. He wants to get rid of the he wants the income tax to be properly enforced, which means you don't tax wages, which means most people would not even be under the income tax law. Well, I mean, they'd be under it, but they wouldn't be subjected to it because they don't do nothing to put themselves in subject to it, right? Because I believe wages aren't income, and I'll go into that on a whole another video. I want to kind of keep this kind of short, but so I understand that, people, you might be thinking, man, I just don't like all this anti-Catholicism stuff that this guy brings up, and maybe you're Roman Catholic, but the whole thing is, by supporting my presidential run, at least if I get out on a stage, I can ask these people, simple questions. Because is it like when I ran against Mike Braun for Senate in 2018, I got very little support, basically because the media tried to black me out, and YouTube and everybody else is just trying to block me out. But when I tried to run in 2018, I ran against nothing but Catholics, okay? And my question to them was, and see, even as a Catholic, you should want me up there, because I'm like, how do I know when your Pope's preaching anti-gun laws, climate change, vaccine mandates, censorship, open borders? How do I know if your Pope, your religious leader of your church that you go to, that you say you're part of, how do I separate that from your republic, you being a Republican and you being a representative? I mean, like, it doesn't that, I mean, why are you in that church? And, it's like, see, like, these questions still need to be asked of these people. Like, how do I know you're not going to do something where you look one way and it looks like you're a good guy, and then you kind of slip little things in the back door, like little legislation, or add little pieces to it, that actually keeps this agenda going forward, this horrible agenda of tyranny. And so part of the things that by me running is, like, I would like to bring all this to the forefront. This should be open discussion. On my page, one of the things I posted on, and this is on the Next Republican President, Chris Lucas 2024 Facebook page, which I do have a link to in the description. I do want to bring this up real quick. This is from Donald Trump's book, Art of the Deal, page 77. I began attending Fordham University in the Bronx mostly because I wanted to be close to home. I got along very well with the Jesuits who ran the school. So he got along very well with the Jesuits. That doesn't mean everything. Like I said, there's Catholics I get along with. So that's not incriminating in of itself. But when you start adding up all these things, like, why did you keep renewing an executive order, or keep renewing the emergency declaration to keep America locked down, and to keep these vaccines going and everything like that, to keep them being produced? Because had Trump ended the emergency declaration in either, I think it was July, or again when it came up again, because he's got to do it every 90 days. So when it came up in October, why'd he keep renewing it? Because, see, part of my thinking is, when he renewed it, it allowed for this emergency use authorization to stay in effect. It allowed warp speed to stay in effect. As soon as he would have ended that, warp speed would have disappeared. These vaccines would have disappeared. All the lockdowns would have disappeared. Even when he signed that $6.2 trillion stimulus package, it was to stimulate the lockdown, because without that money, they could not afford to lock down. None of these governors could lock their states down. Also, what was the whole key thing to Donald Trump? It was like, I remember seeing all these people in the Facebook community, and they were like, man, when their governor or whatever candidate's running for whatever office in whatever state, they'd be like, if you don't support Trump, we're not going to vote for you. Wait a minute. So right here, you're kind of making them have to, like, what if they didn't like what Trump was doing? And you're like, well, I love Trump, but Trump was part of this whole lockdown scam. And so what if this candidate wanted to speak against it? But you're saying you're not going to vote for him if he speaks against Trump. Because in your mind, somehow, it's really messed up, because you're thinking, here's the guy who did the lockdown, who signed the warp speed, who helped create the vaccines, who threatened some of the people in the FDA that if they didn't approve it, they're going to get fired. And you're telling these other people, like your governor, you got to support Trump. And on the other hand, you're saying open up. See, and that could be really misinterpreted if you look at this and like, wow, Trump's so popular and he's the one locking down. Just think if you're the governor. Wow, Trump funded the lockdown. He gave them money. He keeps renewing the emergency declaration. He's so popular. Everyone loves him. Maybe I need to go along with his plan. I mean, that would be logical, right? If you're a governor that wants to be reelected, oh, I better go along with Trump's plan. So you didn't give these people any, you see, what you should have been saying was, Trump, you need to not renew your emergency declaration. And then you should have been telling your governors, hey, forget about Trump. We want you to do the right thing. Okay. So some people are getting mad at their governors, and their governors that really aren't all that right. But the guy who I really want to be like is this guy, General Herbert C. Holdridge. He wrote a letter to President Dwight Eisenhower. So I want to bring this up on my screen real quick. Okay. So it says, so this is the letter he wrote to Dwight Eisenhower, this guy, General Holdridge. He goes, in summation, a vast, hostile, cohesive body of individuals trained in the use of arms and with access to arms, operating nationally and internationally to impress upon the government and the rest of the people of the United States programs. Oh, you know what? I just realized, do I even got my mic hooked up? I'm sorry. Sorry. I hope that recorded. Probably did, but anyway, I want to plug in this mic. Hopefully this one's working now. I was doing something with my I think everything is working. Anyway, it says, in summation, a vast, hostile, cohesive body of individuals trained in the use of arms with access to arms, operating nationally and internationally to impress upon the government and the rest of the people of the United States programs of action representing dire peril to our government and our entire society. So on section 4, it says, operation subversion of our free institutions through schools, press, radio, TV, infiltration into public office, and particularly into the armed forces, where they constitute an armed, tightly organized task force for violence against our people and our government, and where they have organized a spy ring to betray top secret documents to the Pope and the commanding general of the Jesuits. So this is in 1959. This guy, General Herbert Holdridge, wrote this letter to Eisenhower. Now you can only imagine if whenever you ignore a problem like a health issue, what normally happens when you keep ignoring it? It gets worse. So you can only imagine how much worse things might be 60 years later. Could you imagine them to be as bad as they are now, going from that to that? And I would say, yeah, it's like you can easily see how by ignoring an issue like that, I mean, you look at the magnitude of that, of ignoring something that's infiltrated your government, that is subverting your schools, your press, your radio, your TV, infiltration into public office, and particularly into the armed forces, where they constitute an armed, tightly organized task force for violence against our people and our government, where they have organized a spy ring to betray top secret documents to the Pope and the commanding general of the Jesuits. I mean, that's a lot. Potential armed violence against our citizens, such as occurred in Argentina. Such as occurred in Argentina when the people were bombed by planes from the Argentinian Navy, and like action by such commandos trained under the Vatican, the Jesuits, Cardinal Mindszenty, Alan Jules, General Grunther, who launched a wave of violence and counter-violence in Hungary. Those commandos hastened into the U.S. in violation of immigration quotas and without screening. These commandos hastened into the U.S. in violation of immigration quotas and without screening are now underground on our soil. They're shock troops, assassins, presumably under the command of the General Russell, as part of a foreign legion of NATO, now undergoing training at Fort Bliss, Texas. So all this, like, when people talk about, this training going on and everything, they always talk about UN troops and things like that. I mean, you had this going on ever since, basically 1959. Mr. President, in this hour of dire peril to our country, my authority and responsibility to defend the Constitution of the United States is equal to yours and to that of any public servant at the highest level. Since they all have abdicated their authority and responsibility, I have no choice but to assume it. In the name of the Constitution, which we both sworn to defend, I direct you to take immediate steps. So he's saying that, all these other people in the government have abandoned their authority and responsibility, so that he has no choice but to assume it. To arrest in the place of confinement and bring to immediate trial every Jesuit in the United States pretending to citizenship in the United States, every public official who has collaborated with this enemy on the charge of high treason, which is what I would do. I do want to bring charges of high treason to everybody, including Trump, because you know what, folks? If you don't go after Trump, if you let him get away, if you don't want to attack him, if you want to pretend like he's good and not part of this, all these people get away. They all get off the hook. Because if the president of the United States, who knows all the same things I know, it's not like I have more knowledge, and I've been calling out this so-called pandemic, quotes, pandemic, ever since it started. I've been against it ever since it started. I tried to organize protests against the lockdown before the lockdown even began. So I've been against this the whole time. When this lockdown happened, I thought it was way too late. I thought, when I saw this stuff happening in China in December of 2019, I thought, man, maybe we should close our borders down, and then I had all my little, Democrat friends and things like that going, no, you're a xenophobe. And I was like, dude, do you see what's going on there? It's like maybe there's some sort of health crisis, some sort of virus going on that we don't know about. Maybe out of safety, we should lock it down. No, you're a xenophobe. And then you can watch all these videos, and I've played them before, where you got Nancy Pelosi and everybody else saying, come to Chinatown, come out to Mardi Gras, and everything's fine. And they're saying this all the way up until the first week of March. Right. So, and by then, I'm thinking, well, maybe it is just a cold, and maybe I'm the one who's wrong. And but I would have never been someone that said, yeah, we should lock down the way we lock down the country. My whole thing was just shut the border down, let life go on as normal. But why we need to like just shut the border down, temporarily. Maybe shut the airports down temporarily until we figure out what that virus is, right? But I mean, once it's here, I'm not going to, restrict people's rights to have a life, which is what they're basically doing now. So anyway, I do want to kind of get back to. So anyway, so General Holdridge is saying to arrest. Oh no, yeah, you know what? I do want to get back to that one point. You have to go after. You cannot say Trump did not know about this stuff. He definitely had more information than me. And had I done this to people, I think I should be tried for treason. Had I done this with the limited knowledge I got, just as a guy who works, 60 hours a week, and barely has time to research, and just off of my limited knowledge, if I would have locked you down, I mean, I think people should be able to forgive me if I would have done it. Because it's like, well, you barely know what's going on, but you're the president. And you're talking about locking a country down. No, I mean, I think what you should do is do like cost benefit analysis and all that other stuff and have that brought up to people. And if you're going to lock people down, do you think it's really fair to be like, okay, these essential workers, what can we get these little SOBs, to how can we make them still work so we can stay safe? You know what? We won't give them anything extra. Like, let's not give them any hero pay or nothing. Like that way they don't have a choice but to work, and then they can keep us safe. Does that even sound nice? Does that sound like someone who even cared about you? Because that's what they did. That's what they did to me. That's what they did to millions of Americans. That's what Trump did to millions of Americans. It's like, it's very insulting when someone's making more than me staying at home than I make, working 50 hours a week. That's insulting. If I don't even make $1,000 a week and someone else is making $1,000 sitting at home doing nothing, and I'm watching people, working even more hours than me, making, not even anywhere close to $1,000 a week, got grocery store workers sometimes pulling extra shifts and everything because they couldn't get help for some reason, even though we have all these unemployed people. So why couldn't they go work at a grocery store? That's another thing I never understood. It's like, wow, there was all these gas stations that need help, grocery stores that needed help. Fast food restaurants. You could have worked at McDonald's. Why weren't you there? These are things that I never understood. And why? Who decided that we get no choice? To work or not? Why don't you give everyone $1,000, right, a week or less, whatever you want to give them, but you give everybody that amount. That way it's fair to the people who still had to work. And if people want to work, they could keep on working. If they want to quit their job and stay home and be safe, let them quit their job and stay home and be safe. And you could offer that to everybody and just like leave it out there like, yeah, anyone who needs to quit, and you can't, or, and you could also say, and you can't be fired. You could maybe even add that to it. You could collect your job whenever we decide this is over. Yeah, everybody would quit the whole. But it's like, how are you being fair about it? You didn't even give these people money. Or anything extra. So I really think that there was like a whole, that was unfair from the get-go. And I just don't think Donald Trump ever had your best interest. And now you people want to vote for him in 2024. At least put me on the stage so I can question him and make him prove he's better than me. Make him answer these questions. Like, Donald, you knew this vaccine was being created January, what was it? January 13th. Here, I'll go look it up real quick. Moderna. Whoops. Let's see here. That's not the one I'm looking for. Oh, here we go. So, yeah, this is the timeline for Moderna's on the site. You can see it's all up on my screen. And just want you to keep in mind right here, mRNA 1273. That's what you're being shot up with. See, this is right here, December 1st. Adolescent participants were dosed with phase 2, 3 of the study. So they were already testing this on children. December 10th, 2020, mRNA 1273, probably foster kids since they don't have an advocate. And that was something I also spoke against. I said, we really need to end this because you know what these people are going to do? They're going to wind up testing on foster children. End your emergency order, Donald Trump. End it so these kids don't get tested on. And you people were like, Trump 2024, Trump 2024, because oh my gosh, or no, you were like, still Trump 2020, the election was stolen from a guy that is getting these kids shot up with mRNA 1273. I mean, I'm imagining, that's what they use as a foster children. I know that's what Fauci's done in the past. Another Roman Catholic, surprisingly not. But anyway, when you see their timeline, look at this. Remember what I said earlier, mRNA 1273? See, they already had it made January 13th. All these companies did. I just kind of use Moderna's because I know their website the best. But NIH, Moderna's infectious disease team, finalized the sequence for mRNA 1273. Moderna mobilized toward a clinical manufacturer. Why would this company, if this thing is not no big deal, because at the time, think about how these people were downplaying it. I remember January 13th, they were downplaying this. So why would your company go, hey, I know we never brought anything to market. There's been millions of dollars spent on AIDS research all these years. But instead of looking for a cure for AIDS and let our technology be first used for that and tried for that, let's make a cure for coronavirus. It's I don't know, to me, that just sounds kind of fishy. And see, the first batch was completely made by February 7th. And folks, if I know this, Donald Trump knows it. He knows it. He knew it before I knew it because I didn't find this out until, later on in the year. I think it was, I did report that they were already making a vaccine, which I thought was weird. I'm like, look at this, they're testing. I think that I reported about that in May of 2020. One thing about Donald Trump, I don't know if I posted this up on my Facebook page. But if I did. By the way, one of the things I do have in my description is this, my last time I tried to run for office, Chris Lucas versus Mike Braun for Indiana Senate in the Republican primary. So if you want to see about what my potential videos for president would look like, right there would, is a good summation of it. There is a lot of things I want to get to. And did I not post that Donald Trump article? Oh, it looks like I did not post that yet. Okay. But here, I'll find it real quick because I do want you to see something. I think its name is what is it? Pfizer. Tax cut 2017. But anyway, I found some article where it was basically saying that, look at who was benefiting some of the most from Donald Trump's tax cuts. It's a pharmaceutical giant Pfizer. Same one who's doing what now? Making billions off of these so-called vaccines that aren't vaccines. Not in my opinion, not by medical definition. I'm going to touch on that too, because there's one interesting thing you should know is that they also changed the definition of herd immunity. And there's a lot of, and you might know all this already, but there's a little logical point I want to make with all that too. But anyway, I just kind of wanted to bring up that, here's this 2018. I know I saw something from 2017. Oh man, I wish I could find that one article though. But anyway, that Frank D'Amelio is also the guy who works at Pfizer who secures all the government funding. And he's Roman Catholic, of course, and another Catholic tie in all this. And he's basically like I said, the guy that secures global finances for this company. But anyway, I just thought I'd bring that one point up to where real quick. I didn't want to get real deep into it. Let's see here what I can pull up. Oh, hey, I don't know how you pronounce that, Pate Walk or Patty Walk or. But hey, thank you very much. Oh, wow. You gave me a donation. Oh, my gosh. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Let's see here. There is something I do want to bring up. That's pretty important. But hey, thank you very much. I really, really appreciate that. Oh, that's the first time I ever got tipped. So I'm just pretty excited about it. Okay, now I gotta remember where I was going with this. Fine, it ain't too far back here. No, it's. Oh, come on, man. I know it was. You know what? Here, I know a different way I can do this. CDC herd immunity definition. So these people probably got the same thing, but there's a key point to all this. Oh man, I know someone's gotta have this. Maybe we can have this because okay, here we go. So Thomas Massey, representative, pointed out the CDC's evolving definition of vaccination. Vaccination pre 2015 injection of a killed or weakened infectious organism in order to prevent disease. The act of, and now in 2015 to 2021, the act of introducing a vaccine into the body to produce immunity to a disease. So yeah, you used to have part of a weakened or killed pathogen, right? Some type of bacteria or virus. And now it says the act of introducing a vaccine to the body to produce immunity to a specific disease. But now here's the thing too. Now you can see about this definition, it's like, well, these so-called vaccines aren't producing immunity, are they? So if they're not producing immunity, then how can you call it a vaccine? So that's why they had to change it in September of 2021 before, Biden made vaccinations mandatory, because it's like, heck, Biden, we can't make these things mandatory. They're not vaccines. They don't produce immunity. So the CDC is like, oh, we got that. We'll change the definition. The act of introducing a vaccine into the body to produce protection from a specific disease. It makes you less sick, if you get this injection, and make you less sick. But so I want to find the same thing where they go through herd immunity. And that's the thing, man. That's you know what? Here, I'll post this out here, because this is actually pretty good, because it gives the web archive that you can go to find all this archived content. So I'm gonna throw that on chat real quick. Well, not real quick, but quick enough to quick enough, I guess. So, now I want to find definition of herd immunity change, because this is going to tie really tightly into that. Let's see if they got it here, because this is going to be okay. According to WHO, on June 9th, 2020, herd immunity was defined as the indirect protection from an infectious disease that happens when the population is immune, either through vaccination or immunity developed through infection. So natural immunity or immunity through vaccination, right? Now, in November of 2020, they changed it to a concept. Okay, the WHO states that herd immunity is a concept used for vaccination in which the population can be protected from a certain virus if a threshold of vaccination is reached. So they really had to. Okay, but the whole thing is immunity. It's just calling herd immunity. I mean, the word immunity, what does that mean? Let's just go ahead and make sure we got the most perfect definition of immunity. The quality of or condition of being immune, inherited, acquired, or induced resistance to infection by a specific pathogen. Hold on, let me just get the word immune. What does it mean to be immune? Not susceptible or responsive, having a high degree of resistance to a disease produced by, involved in, or concerned with an immune response. Free or exempt, like you're immune from taxation, you're exempt from taxation, right? So if you're immune from a disease, it normally means you can't get the disease. So, I mean, that goes back to, if you can't get the disease, I mean, if you can still get the disease, because we know if you get vaccinated, you can still get COVID. I know people that told me, hey, I got 2 doses of vaccine, and boy, I'm sure glad I got it, because it felt like my lungs were going to explode when I got COVID. And I'm like, you got COVID after the vaccine? Yeah, after my second shot, about a month later or so, I got COVID. Man, it felt like my lungs were going to blow up. So, man, I'm sure glad, man, because, man, it probably would have killed me if I wasn't vaccinated. So their thinking goes, their twisted thinking goes. I know someone else, it's like, man, you're right. This doesn't work. It's junk. I mean, I guess some people can be so brainwashed into thinking that that it protected them, even though they felt like their lungs were going to explode. So, and I'm not even going to get into the side effects right now from just being vaccinated, or the risk of just being vaccinated. I'm just talking about, like, these people still get sick, right? even if they got the vaccination. So how do you have herd immunity if you still get sick? You're not really immune. This is more like herd vaccination, but it's not herd immunity. But somehow they're making herd vaccination into herd immunity. Like that's that's what they're trying to get people's minds to associate. If there's herd vaccination, that means there's herd immunity, that means we're all safe. And it's like, that's just you, man. Like, only you are supposed to get less sick. And then that's like, I had the CDC. I do want to show people this because I don't know if I showed anyone that yet because my internet was down last week. I'm making sure I'm on the right page. And hey, and by the way, anyone's free to follow me on Facebook under my like chrislucas.com Facebook. Yes, I'll be everybody's friend. I don't care. I don't have like, oh, well, follow this page and this page is only for my friends. It's like, dude, if you don't like any of this and you're just like want some information or looking for truth, you can be my friend. I don't even care if you agree with me or not. But gosh, I want to get into that one too. I'm almost there because I do have this. Oh yeah, here's one. So I wrote some article where I said, the vaccine doesn't work. I had some posts where I said, the vaccine doesn't work. And I was like going into how, like, look, this person, I think it might have been the Oscar de la Hoya. I was commenting on how Oscar de la Hoya is a guy that eats well, got double vaxxed. He's training for a fight, so he's in really good shape. And even on his when he was like talking about how he had to cancel the fight, he said he's in his hospital bed saying, it's like, I was doing everything right. I got vaccinated and I, still wound up going to the hospital. It's like, that's, and so I don't know anyone who was eating well, exercising, fit, who's unvaccinated and had to go to the hospital. The only people I know who went to the hospital were all overweight. And they also had like comorbidities like diabetes. Like that's the only people I know who told me, hey, Chris, man, this is real. I had to go to the hospital. And I'm just sitting there like, and I know, and I wasn't going to say anything, but I'm like, man, this person's very overweight. I don't really want to, I'm not, I don't know. He's just recovering. I don't need to like, some people get sensitive about that, but that's how I was like, dude, you are just like incredibly undisciplined and out of control anyway. So I'm not really surprised if even a little common cold would have kind of took you out. But anyway, so I made that post, and then it says, you could see the fact checkers. It's like, it's almost like they're saying you're lying, but you're actually telling me I'm right. Because if you think about this, they're going, fact check. A vaccinated person is not wrong. Get that. They're not. They even capitalized it. A vaccinated person is not wrong to think an unvaccinated person is a threat to their health. Okay, so why would an unvaccinated person be a threat to your health? Because did it provide you protection? Do you got protection from this? Oh, I lost that page, wherever it was. Oh, great. I wonder what I even did with it. But anyway, sorry about this. I'm not really sure what happened to those pages I was just reading from. I lost the link. But anyway, so when you're looking at that whole thing about herd immunity, you can see that it says that it only provides it's only when you got the population vaccinated and it's providing protection. Gosh, this is driving me nuts, man. Why did I? Oh, here it is. So, like I said, we just read how that fact check said it's not wrong to think an unvaccinated person is a threat to a vaccinated person's health. So, herd immunity. What did the WHO say? So we're going to read it one more time. A concept used for vaccination in which the population can be protected from a certain virus if a threshold of vaccination is reached. But how are you protected if it doesn't protect you from the unvaccinated? Because if it doesn't protect you from the unvaccinated, is it protecting you from the virus? No. That doesn't make any sense to me. It says herd immunity is achieved by protecting people from a virus, not by exposing them to it. Hold on. Herd immunity is achieved by protecting people from the virus, not by exposing them to it. So would lockdowns be herd immunity? We have herd immunity. We're locked down. Stay in your house because, see, you're protected from the virus because you're not leaving your house. Right? That to me is crazy. Herd immunity is achieved by protecting people from a virus, not by exposing them to it. Yeah, that sounds like you could say the lockdown is herd immunity. How do you eradicate something if an unvaccinated person can give it to a vaccinated person, but vaccinated people can still get the virus? Can't a vaccinated person, this is going to blow the CDC's mind, can't a vaccinated person give it to another vaccinated person? So what is this? This is where the concept of vaccination makes no sense to me when you are trying to fit it under such broad terms like this. It's you can't even say herd immunity. It's herd vaccination. It's no longer herd immunity, and it's not really. That's only if you change the definition of vaccination, and then you can maybe apply this. I guess it's like a herd vaccination is achieved when everyone's injected with some injection that doesn't work or seems to lose effectiveness very quickly, has no long-term immunity, and like I said in past broadcasts, these one thing, before these people get injections, they never test to even see if they need it. Like I said, I had a stepsister, who was getting chemo, and maybe a few days after her last chemotherapy treatment, they decided to go, hey, we want to vaccinate you. And, she's thinks, a bit different than me, but she's not really scared of it. She would have never got it if they didn't kind of push her to it, but she's kind of passive. But I go, hey, did they even ask you or test your T cells before you took this? Because I was reading that you're not supposed to get vaccinated unless it's 1 month before chemo or 3 months after, and unless it's an inactivated vaccine, which I looked it up and it's not considered an inactivated vaccine. So, because they said they're still developing them. I typed it into Google. It says, oh, we're still working on, I'll even show you real quick. Inactivated vaccine. Oh, COVID. Let me see about this. COVID inactivated vaccine. Oh, you know what? I better do Google, because Google's way better at fact checking and things like that. Inactivated COVID vaccine. So once I get past all the ads, Okay, so we got here, right here, right? This is right from these health services. Two inactivated vaccines against COVID-19 have been shown to be generally safe and have induced antibody responses in adults 18 years and older. Phase one of the two-part trials. However, their efficacy has yet to be demonstrated and their safety needs to be evaluated in a larger sample size. And that's May 26, 2021. So they don't. So now we can be clear, those mRNA vaccines are not inactivated vaccines, and you're supposed to wait, either do it 1 month before chemo or 3 months afterwards. So did they test anyone during the trials? No. So how do you know it's safe? Well, it just is. We need to vaccinate everybody. Well, then I found out by watching one of these videos on my Odyssey, if you look at it. Pat Ewok. Okay. All right. I should have figured that out. Anyway. Yeah, thank you for being the first person to ever donate. But, what video was this? I think it's the virus scandal that might have on the high wire. If it wasn't that one, it might have been like the most. If you go to thehighwire.com, it would be maybe if it's not this virus scandal video, which I have on my Odyssey page. If you go through my posts and everything, but on one of them. And like I said, it's either this one or the one he did September 30th, 2021, where it's like this woman's talking to all these doctors. And she's on the phone and she's like, and what she did was, like, I think she like secretly recorded her supervisors. And they're like, well, and basically they made it sound like, oh, it's just so important that we get this vaccine into everybody, to try to get this disease under control. But I mean, come on, man, it's a disease with a 99.97 survival rate. And that's if you're not treating people. If you properly give them treatment and vitamin D, I think it goes a lot lower than that. I mean, they got a lot higher chance of survival. The death rate's a lot lower. So, which ties me back into, what I think must have been going through their brains when they gave it to my stepsister. It was like, oh, it's just so important we get this into everybody. But you don't care about, I mean, what if you could kill someone or harm someone? I mean, why is it that important? I mean, why is getting this disease under control so important that it doesn't matter if you hurt someone or kill someone or, mess someone up? I mean, what disease? I mean, isn't the whole point, fighting a disease because you don't want to hurt someone and you don't want to put them through any extra risk? Isn't that the whole point of the vaccination? The supposed point of vaccinating people is that you're trying to avoid risk, and yet you're unnecessarily making them take a risk on something that was never, you don't have any working proof, you don't have any proof of safety with it, as far as like cancer patients, and now you're breaking protocol just to inject them. These are the things that just boggle my mind. It's like you could have gave her a T-cell test, which these things weren't invented until I found out they didn't even have an FDA approved T-cell test until March 2021, right? So they were giving out all those injections. And this is what it looks like to me. You're giving out all those injections without even testing people for prior immunity. Therefore, how do we even know if they're working? And even now, even after having a T-cell test that's approved by the FDA, you're still not giving it to them. From all my knowledge, all my research, you're still not giving it to them. And so it's like, so why not just test her, see if she's got immunity, and be like, well, you got immunity. There's no need to risk it by giving you this vaccine at a point in time that's still experimental. It's just a couple of days after chemo. It's definitely the wrong time to give you it. We have no business giving you any vaccine, let alone an experimental one. But yeah, I mean, it's like no testing. It's just like this. That's the part that's boggling my mind. Before we even get into all the religious exemption stuff, this is like, come on now, man. I mean, like, I don't even think people should have to use a religious exemption. There's this one guy on Odyssey named Tim Truth. I think he makes a really good point when he says you shouldn't use the fact that, hey, I got prior immunity as an argument not to take the vaccine. I mean, that can be one of the arguments, but you shouldn't have that be the focus, because really, whether you have prior immunity or not, you should be able to refuse this so-called vaccine that looks experimental. Just because the FDA approves it, it's still experimental. I mean, it's still like you still don't know. I believe most medicine fits under that category, because no one knows everybody's body type. No one knows all the medication contradictions something could have. Maybe someone is like, let's just say birth control. It works in a weird way with this so-called vaccine, or maybe some new vaccine in the future they try to make you take. And let's say you're taking birth control and you're like, you're on it. Maybe they never tested to see if it would have a contradiction. And maybe you're taking it going, well, I don't want to go without taking it. I don't want to take this vaccine because I think might be a contradiction. There might be some kind of counter reaction to there, so I just don't want to take it. And they never study the side effects. Like, they don't study the side effects of like mixing medications with this and what it might do to your body and things like that. So you should have the right, because like all of that's an experiment, it's like, and they don't know everyone's diet. They don't know, like, maybe if someone's getting more of a certain vitamin, maybe it would make something react differently in their body. You don't know. I mean, it's like, I'm sure the parents that feed their kids peanuts and they're like, oh my gosh, my kid's face is swelling up. Do you think that parent was sitting there like, oh, I purposely want to do that? And you might be like, well, everyone, you can't blame the parent. I'm not saying you can blame the parent, but that's still an experiment. Like, that parent did not know that kid's body type, did not know that kid was going to react like that. It's still an experiment. When you try a new food, you're trying it, and you're also seeing how your body's going to react and how it's going to taste, and and what kind of results it's going to have, and consequences and things like that. Whenever you try anything. So, and they don't have all this stuff figured out. So it's always an experiment. And you should have the choice of what you want to put in your body and what you don't want to have in your body. So I do want to kind of go on to one last point, because I don't want this thing to go too much longer than an hour. Let's see here. Find it on my... Yeah, actually, there's a few points I want to... Oh, you know what? I'll just kind of play this part real quick. Now, I don't know if you saw this video about heathens gather to worship the jab, but I kind of want you to pay attention to this guy who's going to be right about here in this front row. I think he's going to be right about here. And just kind of like look at his reaction. Oh, maybe it's going to be. Oh, right here. Yeah, praise Jesus. Thank you for the Pfizer and the Moderna and how they're using this for the mark. And this is what I think is wrong with most churches. It's like, man, it's like, this is ecumenism. This is what I hate. It's like, In the Bible, it says, there's going to be this great whore, which I believe is the Catholic Church, and it's going to have all these like harlot daughters. This is all your harlot daughters right here. All of them, all these churches that, have these religious leaders that bow to the Pope. But man, it's like this guy right here. Man, I like watching his expression. I mean, man, he's just like, wow. Yeah. I just, I kind of get a kick out of that one. That's just to lighten up the show a little bit. But let's see here. Oh, this video right here. I don't know why it's not showing up, but this one lady gives like a really good speech. There is something. Oh yeah, here. This is something I kind of was reading. In this New England Journal of Medicine article, if you do the math, 105 women out of 115 suffered spontaneous abortions who received the Moderna or Pfizer vaccination in their first trimester. I looked up the normal stats, and normally only about 13% of first trimester pregnancies end up in spontaneous abortions or miscarriages. So it looks like you increase your chances by 80% of having a spontaneous abortion or a miscarriage in your first trimester if you get this so-called vaccine. And, I will show people, like, because what it was, it's a little misleading because, people read this and they'll go, because you get down to here and you go, okay, among 827 registry participants who reported a completed pregnancy, 104 experienced spontaneous abortions and had one stillbirth. So you're like, Chris, 104 of 827, that's not, what is it? Like, that's not like, how much did I say? Like 90%. It's not 90%. But now if you read a little bit further, it goes a total of 712 pregnancies, 86% resulted in a live birth. Mostly, now this is a key, mostly among participants who received their first vaccination dose in their third trimester. So it says total, so 700, and so they most of these women, when they got the vaccination, they got it in their third trimester. So what does that mean? So that leaves you with 14%, which is the rest of these. So 712 minus 827 is what? That's 115, right? So that's 115 in their first trimester. So that's how I got that total, in case anyone want to know. But see, what they did was when they add these, it's like, 90% of these women are having spontaneous abortions and miscarriages when we're giving them this jab. Hey, buddy, I know what to do. Let's get some women in here that are closer to having birth. We'll shoot them up with it. We'll raise the numbers up, and then it does. It smooths everything over. And now suddenly we got, instead of 115 out of 104, we got all these women in their third trimester. So it's 712 extra women we got to do this. They wound up having this baby, and now it looks good, man. It didn't cause a miscarriage now, or it's on average. But when you look at the average first trimester, like what's it normally? The first trimester. Oh, it's only 13 to 16% that ends in miscarriage, and you got that many, 104 out of 115. So that's just to let you know, where I got that. That's not like some number I'm making up. Because some people commented and they were mad when I commented somewhere else with that same post. And then I watched this YouTube video, and I guess
introducing the all-new vault from
when you get, here we go, and this is the crux of Catholic publication that's all about pushing the vaccine. They're all like, yeah, the Pope said push this vaccine. Sneezing, a COVID symptom in vaccinated people. Fully vaccinated people in the UK are now showing a new symptom of COVID-19. People inoculated with both doses are reporting sneezing as one of the symptoms of COVID-19. So that means once you get it again, you're getting sneezing. I wonder how many reports they're having. They're like, oh, there's not that many people here with, it's got the shot. It's like, and you're telling me that this vaccinated person cannot spread it to another so-called vaccinated person, and you're sneezing now. See, used to people who got COVID-19 weren't sneezing, so you didn't have all these extra particles flying around. Now you got extra projections coming out of these people now, and it's flying into the air. They're leaking all kinds of virus. So to me, that means you're a super spreader now, and that's why I said that in my post. Now, I'm wondering what they mean about this, because it's like fact check. Australia Press, they're trying to fact check my stuff, saying claim vaccines won't stop COVID spread, ignores key facts. If the unvaccinated are dangerous to the vaccinated because they can get COVID and can give it to the vaccinated, why can't the vaccinated who get COVID spread it to the other vaccinated? In fact, I think they would be even more primed to do it. You know why? Because now they got the specific COVID that can spread from unvaccinated to from vaccinated to vaccinated. And now you're causing this certain one that's immune to the vaccine to be spread, because now you're filtering out that one. Let's get rid of that pesky one that we got a vaccine for, and let's get this other one, that we don't have, or that's got this mutation. But I kind of think that's all a bunk theory. I don't think these things ever showed efficacy because they never tested the T cells. And I think the only reason why these vaccines ever start working is eventually they get some of these people get COVID, and then they develop an immunity to it. Because if you get I think maybe by your fourth booster, you probably came in contact with COVID, and then maybe they go, yeah, the fourth booster, man, it did it. Let's say it did work. I don't even know if it's gonna work. It might even actually hurt your immune system by some studies. But let's just say, it didn't reduce your white blood count, and it didn't wreck your immune system. Let's say this actually didn't do anything to your system at all. Let's just say it was almost like a saline injection. I know there's other things in it, but let's just say, for example, it was a saline injection, and I gave you it 1 month, and now I got to wait another month to give you your second shot. So that gives you another 30 days to catch the virus. Then it's like, you came down with COVID. But let's say you came down with COVID and you didn't even know it. And I'm like, well, let's give you your third booster. And then I'm like, hey, look, man, this person, I kept them from getting COVID, but who knows? It's like the person could have picked up COVID, got immunity to it, and your shot didn't do anything because you're never testing the T cells. I guess my one final point would be, how does CDC know there's no long-term side effects for these new type of vaccines, which are not actually vaccines by definition? Most people who had the shot just got the shot this year. Also, the CDC does not even acknowledge what's found on the VAERS database, which admittedly only accounts for 1 to 10% of actual vaccine injuries. Most people, when they have received any vaccine, were never told VAERS even exist. I mean, when you got a vaccine, any vaccine throughout your whole childhood till now, were you ever told about VAERS? Ever knew it even existed? And I tell you what, most doctors, they actually probably don't even have the time to fill out a VAERS report because they are so busy. And this woman on that same Highwire video I tried recommending, if you look for it on Odyssey, all you gotta do is type in VAERS scandal and you'll see Dell Big Tree or the Highwire. But in that same video, she talks about how when she's a nurse, or not a nurse, but an assistant, she says, these doctors don't have time, so to fill out these VAERS report because they're kind of tedious. And then even once you get to the bottom of it, you'll click it, and the website might go internal error. And instead of saving all that information you type, it vanishes. So you have to retype the whole thing. And even when you retype it again, it might have internal error again. And so then it's like, oh my gosh, you got internal error twice. Now you got these patients coming in your office. Do you think a doctor has time to deal with all that? A doctor that, some of these doctors, man, work a lot of long hours. So do you think they got time to deal with that? And so obviously they're going to give it to like their assistant or whatever. But if they're not, but these hospitals don't want to even pay the assistants for the extra time it takes to do that, because she says it started becoming a full-time job. Well, the doctor or a hospital didn't want to pay for it, so they only wanted to pay. They only told her she can only do it for the people she's taking care of. So all these other doctors that were swamped, well, they're not. They didn't have. They felt like they didn't have time, so they're not reporting it. So, and when I started really looking into it, to be honest, I'm surprised even 1% gets reported of these vaccine injuries. Because I used to think, wow, really only 10%? Well, when I heard that lady speak and I dug into it a little deeper myself, to be honest, I'm like surprised that even 1% gets reported. And I've heard 1% was the actual number for a while, and I was like, I'll go ahead and say 1 to 10%. But you know what? Now that I looked into it, I can see, yeah, it might be 100 times higher for these vaccine injuries than what you see on VAERS. So just giving people a heads up on that, I tell you what, this one post, I'll post my Facebook page and people can just kind of go to that and see that. Oh, I get it. Why is that not appearing? Pretty sure I put it up there. Well, these are the two Highwire posts I want people to check out. Oh, this one right here. Cause of death after COVID-19 vaccination and undeclared components of the COVID-19 vaccines. So what it is all these doctors, and it's in German, but someone was nice enough to translate it, the first 2.5 hours of it. And you get to see in-depth detail of pictures and everything. And you get to hear these doctors explain everything. Well, I'll play this one part. I think it's kind of interesting. I think it's yeah, that's right. I just
foreign bodies, wild speculations are going on, microchips, graphene oxide, minerals, metals, aluminium, alloys are often used in vaccines to boost aluminium compounds, which is what we've seen and to boost the immune reaction. And in Japan, they found stainless steel particles in Moderna batches that were produced in Spain. And I actually miss the reaction in Germany. I'm quite sure that these vaccines have been delivered to Germany as well. Apparently, the Japanese seem to be more finicky here. The company argued, what's the point? Just a few stainless steel particles in the body, no problem. Stainless steel is often used in medicines and heart valves and prostheses. It's no matter. Okay, don't worry. No point. I'm just waiting for someone to stand in front of a judge in court saying, I can't have killed that person. My knife was a stainless steel knife. That is medically allowed, having stainless steel in the body. So no reaction. And I'll show you how we found this. You know, the images. What we did was that we looked at the vaccines of different producers. By the way, this goes back to a physician working in Hamburg. I think Mr. Reiser is his name, Stefan Reiser, who pointed this out. And we picked this up here in Reutlingen, and he did that in the light-through microscope. And I wondered, foreign bodies is double light-breaking elements, is not biologic. May be wrong sometimes, but in this case, I think it holds true. So we found these box-type elements. We found these needle or string-like elements. Such crazy things here. This was drastically named by one of our staff, female staff. And here and here, we find that in many places in different ways. I expect stainless steel is not double light breaking, but at the edges we will probably see this. And we've got nice images here. However, not very nice if you have that inside your body. So that was case one.
Okay, I'm not going to play all that, but I just kind of want to give you a little taste of that. And I just really liked what that guy said about, yes, a knife can be stainless steel. And yeah, in case anyone watches this video, I also put that comment there in case you want to catch that exact part again. But yeah, I found that pretty interesting. Oh yeah, the title of it. Just sometimes I forget to add all these like videos into the description box. I try to remember, but it's hard to, it's hard enough to just get a show done. But it says cause of death after COVID-19 vaccination and undeclared components of the COVID-19 vaccines. Press conference of the Pathological Institute, Reutlingen, September 20th, 2021. So that's a very recent conference. So I think I'm just about done covering everything. This video right here is really good too. I mean, even if you don't, like, you're skeptical of believing in terrain theory, this video kind of really changed my mind. And at the end, I was really surprised because they called out Ron DeSantis at the very end of the video and says, so don't you go thinking Ron DeSantis is any good. And they brought up this point about SB 2006, which is an executive order Ron DeSantis declared, right? So you're thinking Ron DeSantis, Florida governor, man, hero, we got it. This is the guy. Chris, not you. Not you. You shouldn't be running against Trump. We need Ron DeSantis. I say, let us all get up on stage so I can, just so we can clarify. All right. That's all I'm saying. At least support me enough to where they have to put me on stage, like give me enough followers, to where, look, I got 1 million Facebook followers. There's at least 1 million people, and I have hardly any money for a campaign. I already got 1 million people following me on Facebook, following me on Odyssey, and what other platforms I can be on. And if I can just point to that, and be like, yep, you don't censor me out. Let me up on that stage too, and have all of us up on that stage. And then I want to go into this because I want to be like, look, Ron, you signed this in March of 2020, ordering an individual to be examined. And so when we go into SB 2006, it reads, ordering an individual to be examined, tested. So under Part 4 of this, it says ordering an individual to be examined, tested, vaccinated, treated, isolated. But see, here's the key: vaccinated, isolated, or quarantined for communicable diseases that have significant morbidity or mortality and present a severe danger to public health. Individuals who are unable or unwilling to be examined, tested, or vaccinated or treated for reasons of health, religion, or conscience may be subject to isolation or quarantine. So right here, I know some people are going to go, well, Chris, he said for reasons of health, religion, or conscience. This guy's about freedom. He said they may be subjected to isolation or quarantine. So that means they don't have to be vaccinated. But let's keep reading. Examination, testing, vaccination, or treatment may be performed by any qualified person authorized by the state health officer. So right here is the key part. B, if the individual poses a danger to the public health, the state health officer may subject the individual to isolation or quarantine. Now here's the kicker. If there is no practical method to isolate or quarantine the individual, the state health officer may use any means necessary to vaccinate or treat the individual. Now, someone might say, oh, there are practical methods to isolate. You can just tell them to just stay at home. And you can tell them not to go to work. And you can tell them not to go to the grocery store. And you can tell them to starve. I guess it's one way of doing it, to say they're not forcing the vax. But now if there's no practical method to isolate or quarantine, they could also say, is there really a practical method to quarantine or isolate 1 million people? Maybe we need to force vaccinate. Because they may say there's no practical method. You got to remember, Ron DeSantis is Roman Catholic. Why are you Roman Catholic? And you're going against your Pope on all these things, because your Pope is saying censor people, force that vaccination. Not only that, he's for open borders and all these other things. That's what your Pope's for. I just don't understand why you're going to that church. The Bible says, come out of her. My people. That's the key thing. My people come out of her. God's people come out of her. So maybe you're not God's people, Why are you staying in this? Because this church of all churches, it's like, let's just say it was the Antichrist church. What would you expect the Antichrist church to do? Do you think it would push some kind of global agenda where it's meeting with the kings of the earth, like the presidents and all these foreign leaders? Do you think it would maybe push something that looks a lot like this, like COVID tyranny or this vaccine tyranny, or it's trying to censor everybody and, and force everyone to take this in order to buy or sell or participate in society? And look, this church, which many Protestants, used to call, I don't know how Protestant people really are anymore, but they used to call this church the Great Whore. They used to not even call Catholics Christians. When I was growing up, in the 80s, it was not uncommon to hear, are you Christian or Catholic? And very few people were really atheist at that time, or any other religion. So that's basically one of the questions, you ask, and it wasn't really even considered offensive to ask, But now it's like, are you Christian or Catholic? I mean, I wonder if that might actually offend a Catholic now. Maybe it offended him then, and I was like, I'm just kidding. I don't know. But it just seemed like, amongst other people, like if I'm in a crowd of people, like that was no big deal to say something like that. But I always wonder, if it might not be practical to isolate or quarantine, a million individuals who don't want to be vaccinated, or 100,000 or 10,000 or 20,000. They might say that. So, and maybe there's other states. And one of the things I bring up too is maybe you think your own governor is this big old freedom governor and things like that. Look at their executive order and look for this kind of language in it, because they all signed something similar to this. And just go look in that and see what they say. I don't even know if I even brought this one up. I thought this was good. I think I'll end it with this. It says the guy on the left was arrested and convicted for illegally selling missiles to Iran during the Reagan administration. It says Oliver North. The guy on the right is a Fox News military analyst who thinks Iran shouldn't have missiles. They're the same guy. Oh my gosh, they are. Oliver North. So this guy who was part of the whole Iran-Contra scandal, and I think Reagan was a scumbag too, and I'll get into that, some other video. But because Reagan also passed amnesty, which turned California into from a Republican state into a Democrat state, because most of those illegals are Catholics, and Catholics vote Democrat. I've said that in past videos. My personal experience is 90% of the Catholics I know vote Democrat. And that's even with me, obviously, not too many liberals are going to be my friend. So even with the few that do decide to be my friend, and me being surrounded by probably more conservative people just because they hear my views, even with that, 90% of them still vote Democrat. At least, my experience. But anyway, I think that's, so anyway, Reagan basically removed the laws to allow a Vatican embassy to be created too. And these rules were put in place after the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. Few people even know about this, but yes, there were laws put in place to end diplomatic ties with the Vatican because there was so much evidence the Vatican was involved in the assassination of Abraham Lincoln that Brigadier General Thomas Harris, who wrote a book about it because he oversaw the trial, said there was so much evidence you could convict the Pope. And that's written in his book, Rome's Responsibility for the Assassination of Abraham Lincoln. So, yeah, there's one really interesting thing I want to bring up, but my mind's kind of blanking on me. So anyway, I'll just leave it at that. Maybe I can start the next video off with whatever my mind's blanking from. And I hope that's a decent show. I really appreciate my first ever donation on Odyssey. That's really awesome, and thank you. And anyway, let's just see here. I want to make sure I go through the comments. There's any more comments on my page. Just go back to that and just kind of end the show. All right. Well, that will be it for my show. Thank you, Pat Ewok. Appreciate everything. And later. Oh, you know what? Here, let me post my little link to my YouTube page. My Facebook page, in case someone wants to read it. See any of that stuff I post up there, and then I'll call it a day. But anyway, just remember, I put that mask on if you want to maintain that lie. So anyway, folks, thank you for watching.